Hello, everybody. I'm Yoshikigami, president of Boss. I'm talking from Japan. So today I will talk with Jeff. Hi, Jeff. How are you doing?
Hello, Yoshi-san. It's great to see you. Everyone at home, I'm Jeff Slingloff. I'm the product manager for Boss here in the United States, and I'm in California. It's 11:30 our time, and we're on Talks with Boss. Now, Talks with Boss is a weekly program which we get together with Yoshi Ikigami, president of the company, and we get some insight on new products and some behind-the-scenes stories and just some education as to what's going on with things. It's always fun and educational, and I'll be asking them some questions on a fun theme. Yoshi, could you tell everybody what the theme is for today?
Yeah, today we are going to talk about Nextone Special.
Awesome. All right, so Nextone Special was an amplifier we introduced about a month ago. Everybody knows Boss amplifiers for being the Katana series, which is world famous, and we really appreciate everybody out there for that. Also, the Waza series amplifiers. And, some people don't know it, but a lot of the Roland branded amplifiers, the JC series, the Blues Cube series, are actually all from the same Boss team as well. So when it comes to the amplifiers, what makes the Nextone Special so unique?
Mhm. Yeah, Nextone Special is kind of like very much simple tube amp, good sound, you know, and the tube amps pre-fill. Somebody is asking what is different from Katana and which is better or something, but totally different concept. Katana is designed for a grab and go amp with a lot of effects, so you can get very much variety of the sound with effects. And also we have Bruce Cube, and the Bruce Cube is designed for kind of like realizing artist sound by using tone capsule. So the Nextone concept is very simple and just giving tube amplifier pre-fill.
All right. So yeah, with Nextone amplifiers, it's we've got this power tube selection, the editor, which is all really great. And what's really fun about it is that it's with a tube amplifier, they can sound amazing, and we all love them and revere them for what they do. But often they don't have a lot of options and capabilities beyond their one focused sound. Is there anything special that we focused on for a Nextone Special?
Yeah. So not only for clean crunch or high gain sound, uh, Nextone amplifier is realizing pre-fill of the tube amplifier, and it's a little bit close concept to Bruce Cube. And also, people expect different feel tone response for the clean crunch amplifier. But Nextone can edit and change such kind of feel, by uh, front panel and also by using editors. So that is very much unique point of Nextone amplifier.
Okay. Well, and can you tell us a little bit about, tell the audience about the power amp type? It selects amongst multiple power amp types, but could you give us a little insight on that?
Yeah. So Nextone has four different power amp types. So 6V6, 6L6, EL84, and EL34. And each tube type, they are used for very famous amplifier. So you guys have some image of the amplifier. 6V6, famous by deluxe reverb. 6L6, twin reverb. EL84, box AC30. EL34, maybe a 100 Marshall super lead. So such kind of famous amplifier are existing, you know. So each tube type's basic sound is a little bit designed for a little bit close to such famous amplifier. So 6V6 provide some little bit with this strong compression with bouncy low frequency, and 6L6 is a little bit brighter with twangy and bite sound. So that's provide much more clear contour, you know. And ER84 provides kind of like a loose, low frequency and with a chimey high frequency sound. So that sounds a little bit sounds like a class A type of amplifier sound. And
Hmm.
ES34, that is much more powerful sound.
Right. It's got a much more of that mid-range
Yeah.
grunt, which I always love.
Mhm.
Right. Well, and one thing I think we should explain to people is that when we say you can choose from the different power amp types,
Mhm.
and you can get the 6L6, 6V6, EL34, we are actually physically changing the analog circuit board for it. So you might get a modeling amp or something that you've seen in past where it might say, a Vox AC30, but it's not changing the power amp to respond to the speaker and the dynamics and the interaction. And this really does. It really, gets that full characteristic experience and that harmonic relationship. I've got my personal favorites, but do you have a personal favorite that you would recommend or suggest as far as power amp type, Yoshi?
Yeah, all pump selection is good, but if I play with Les Paul, maybe the powerful EL34 sound is good. But if I use my own 59 reissue, that's just a little bit, too much. Too much. I don't tell too much. Much more low frequency. So EL30 84 combination is better. And if I play Stratocaster, and also maybe if I want to play chunky rhythm play, but then I would prefer Scale 6. That's provide much more crisp and clear sound. So good for cutting play.
Right. And one of the things that's uh, really interesting about having this is that with our amplifiers, with the Nextone amplifiers, you don't need to have the regular maintenance that you would with a classic tube amplifier. And when you buy new tubes, they tend to sound different from one
Mhm.
place to another. With our editor, you can not only change the type of tube that you've got, but you can actually detail some of its characteristics as far as tone. So I
Mhm.
can make it sound more like an RCA tube, or make it sound more like an Mullard tube, or whatever kind of experience I want to get out of it. And it will do that every day. It doesn't change, from one sitting to the next.
Mhm.
I was telling you earlier, I in one of my amplifiers, I've got an old Mullard 12AX7 tube in it,
Mhm.
and today I was looking on Reverb and saw that same tube going for $200,
Wow, it's
right?
very much difficult to get good condition tubes, and also keeping good condition. It's kind of possible, but very much, you have to pay extra money, and also, another point, uh, Nextone amplifier. When you turn on the amplifier, immediately you can get the best sound, and even if you play overnight, Nextone provides always good sound. So tube amplifier, it's impossible, right? Warm up and 1 hour play, maybe sound is a little bit, getting weak or something.
Yeah, right. And they tubes can sometimes be like strings where they have their good moments, and they kind of like have a little bit of a life to them, especially the power tubes. So, well, let's talk a little bit about the power control inside of the amplifier. One of the essential things of Nextone,
Mhm.
is that it has this power control function, which you see as well on other Boss amplifiers, like Katana has it as well. In a tube amp, it's important, to play loud, uh, um, you know, and I don't think most people even know what the most important part of the sound is in a tube amp, where it gets its drive from. Maybe you could tell people where that comes from.
Yeah, maybe if you play with a tube amplifier, you should set the master volume maybe over 12 o'clock. I usually set 2 o'clock or something, but that is too much louder usually. You have to fight with drummers or somebody, you know. But no worry about Nextone. Nextone has a power control function. So you can get the crank up tube amplifier prefill with a small volume. That is very much useful function. So you can always use tube amplifier filling with any volume.
Right, which is super cool. So one of the things that I always tell people about, and this is important for not only Nextone but the other Boss amplifiers we make is as well, is that they give you that cranked up sound that when you push the amplifier, and you don't actually have to be loud because you can pull the power control down. And what's important to note about that is that with tube amplifiers, we always think of the first tube as being where the distortion starts, but it's actually each tube add gain. So the last tube is the first to clip, and that's your power tube. And if you take the master volume and turn it down, you're no longer clipping that and getting that classic sound like all those records that we love. You're now getting something fizzy, which is just the front end section. What's cool about all the Boss amplifiers, and is really brought out in the Nextone Special, is how much effort and character has gone into the power amp section. For me, that's really important. But could you maybe tell the audience a little bit more about the design specifically?
Yep. Amplifier is kind of like making some interaction between each section. Power amp is not only working only power amplifier, so that's effect to the other circuit. So that's kind of organic interaction is very much important part of the amplifier, guitar amplifier.
Mm-hmm. And so Nextone uses a discrete Class AB amplifier. Could you tell everybody, what the difference on that versus like a Class D amplifier is?
Yes. Class D amplifier, D class amplifier is very much flat. So that's kind of like a high fidelity amplifier. It's not bad, but that sound is totally different from guitar amplifier. So the Nextone is using all analog discrete circuit with a Class AB power amp circuit. So sometimes some different product they are making some tube preamplifier plus D class amplifier, and they said reproducing tube amplifier sound, but that is a little bit confusing to me. Tube preamp maybe provide some soft sound, but we can make same sound by using transistor. And with D-class amplifier, it's impossible to realize the tube amplifier prefill. So I have a big question mark about such a combination. So our circuit is using AB class analog amplifier. So that is very much good to realize tube amplifier prefill.
Right. And as you said with the Class D amplifier, typically they don't interact with the entire system like our amplifiers do. They're not interacting with the speaker and the full chain of events that are going on there. So they don't cut through to, generally, is what my experience is, and that's what you'll generally hear people talk about online. And typically what you'll see, because of their lack of ability to cut through, is you'll see like 3, 4, 5 times the wattage needed just to try and get over a band in a band situation. But one of the things that Katana was known for is we called it Katana because it cut through a band, it cut through a mix, and it sat there. And same thing with Nextone. It cuts through, it sits in a band mix, but it doesn't actually have. You don't have to be loud to sit in the mix well. It doesn't get lost. It's really quite a cool experience. So, as you were saying, to get good sound, you don't need to crank this up like a general tube amp.
Yeah. Tube amp, it's better to crank up, but it's too loud right? As you said. So
Hmm.
Nextone has a power control function. So you can use like a crank up tube amplifier with useful volume. So that is a big uh, potential of the Nextone amplifier.
Right. So you can get cranked up feel, and when you turn that, like if you turn down the master volume on a tube amp,
Mhm.
it can start to sound fizzy. Starts to lose its dynamics. You start to lose the play.
Mhm.
Um, you know, and that's a problem. But with this, you can turn it down, and you can still be able to play and feel it and stuff like that. Some people use an attenuator. How is this
Mhm.
different than an attenuator?
Yeah, yeah. Alternator is connecting between speaker and the power amp, right? But
Hmm.
as I said, power amp and speaker work not work independently, you know. So there is some interaction. So if you put the alternator in between uh, power amp and speaker unit, that is changing interaction between power amp and speaker unit, right? So of course pre-fill will be changed by alternator. So sound is changing. So it maybe
Right.
alternator can reduce the volume, but pre-fill and the sound are totally different.
Right. So, there's classic attenuators, which are just
Mhm.
big resistive loads, and they change the frequency response, they change the feel, but pulling this down, it doesn't.
Yeah.
If you did need to
Mhm.
have a tube amp and you did need to turn it down, we do have a great, device, which is the Waza tube amp
Mhm.
expander, which will still maintain that feel and stuff,
Yeah.
which is, I think, actually part of the development tools originally that
Yeah. Yeah.
on how you guys figured this stuff out,
Yeah.
which is
So
really great.
Nextone power control function doesn't use such kind of alternator. Instead of that, uh, we are changing power amp driving voltage. So we can control the loudness by adjusting such a voltage. So we can keep the dynamics of the power amp and with interaction with the speaker.
Right. So, and that's how everything's interacting and as related parts, right? That's
Yeah.
um, and where is this interaction generated?
It's not only between power amp and speaker unit. You know, everything is interacting. For example, or including cabinet, speaker. You know, the very much simple modeling is realizing each section. Preamp, power amp, speaker, or something. But that doesn't have the interaction. So it's very much simple, but that is not same to the real tube amplifier. So we are having such interaction. And for example, think about a cabinet. Cabinet that's wood, also baffle, speaker unit, everything is working with the interaction. By the way, this time we preferred plywood for Nextone cabinet. So that
Uh-huh.
sounds a little bit different. And also we designed the cabinet the sound direction, also the acoustic. We are controlling everything by cabinet design. And also the power supply. This is designed for much more dynamics. So the power supply has a flexibility to adjust such dynamics. So including such cabinet design, uh, power supply design, everything, and also including the interaction with each section, we call that is a tube logic technology.
Hmm. Well, and what I love is in this amplifier, you know, there's full interaction, from the speaker all the way back to the input jack and back and forth. And when it comes to manufacturing and designing a product, not only does the Boss team and engineers know electronics from 40 some years of design guitar related products, but you guys also know cabinet design. And there's a lot of boutique designers who don't know cabinet design and didn't know what, they kind of just copy something that they like, but you guys actually intelligently studied that. And and a lot of manufacturers who come from like more of a digital world, they just build a box. They don't know
Mhm.
how to build a delivery system that's interactive with me as the guitar player. But this is just a box, the Nextone Special. I could plug any amplifier I have into it and have a really unique, dynamic
Mhm.
experience that would be desirable. But one of the key points that you pointed out in that was, not only is it the wood and the technology for this Class AB power amp and all the power sag and stuff that's going back and forth, but you have a new speaker, and it's kind of a Bluebell-ish kind of a design. Can you tell us a little bit about the speaker and what's going on there?
Very heavy. This is new water speaker. You know, first water speaker. It's designed like a greenback because at the time we wanted to realize some brown sound. So everybody said vintage greenback is better. So, but vintage greenback was small power speaker. So we had to design high power greenback sound. So this time we decided to use bluebell type of the sound because that is very much wider sound response. So that is much for Nextone amplifier design concept. And also the bluebell is well known as a famous alnico speaker, right? So alnico speaker has very much unique character on high frequency range. So that is a good point. But we wanted to add more mid-low, strong, punchy sound. So we add that character like another famous alnico speaker, JBL D120F. So we
Hmm.
combined two very nice high-end sound and low mid punchy sound. So and also with a high uh, power input.
Hmm.
That is the new water speaker. Maybe we can talk about speaker for 30 minutes or something, but it's too deep. Maybe next time we can talk about the speaker.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
and at some point, maybe that would be a very good talks with Boss, right? There's unique speakers in the Katana line. There's unique speakers in the Nextone line, and then in multiple products now we have the Waza Green speaker that we've been using, which is like a 100-watt uh, um, take on a greenback, and then the new Waza, Bluebell-ish type speaker, which more of an Alnico D120 kind of sound. And you know, again, this is one of those things where our team has a great knowledge of speaker design. One of my favorite photos that I've ever seen at Boss was there's a photo of Morimoto's son, and he's sitting on the floor with like 50 cones of speakers that he's
Yeah,
cut
yeah,
out
yeah,
while he's testing them. He's just sitting there like a kid on Christmas morning with gifts all around him and just the biggest smile. He was so happy.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think the the interesting thing is that every single thing from this speaker to the box to the power amp to the way all the digital stuff
Mhm.
works is working great. But probably the most important thing actually is where everything starts, and that's at the input jack.
Mhm.
A lot of people, they don't, they wonder if on an amplifier like this, because it does have some technology in it and some analog technology and stuff, how does it interact with different guitars and
Yeah,
pedals and things like that? Can
yeah,
you tell
yeah,
us a little bit about that?
yeah. We investigated such kind of deep level. The guitar and also your play style, change tone and feel and response, everything. You know, so uh, you can customize very much deeper with matching for your guitar and your play style. If you use real tube amplifier, if and also if you want a perfect fit for your style, maybe you need to use some custom builder amplifier. You have to pay much money. You know, and even if you want to have such kind of custom amplifier, sometimes it's impossible, right? And next on stage and artist, you can change such kind of setting by using editor. Maybe that is same to master builder tuning. You know, and also Nextone Special has some additional volume control. So some levels you can edit the sound only Nextone Special on front panel. But of course you can get into deeper with the editor, of course.
Right. And I think that's really important. What you say is when we say there's an editor for the Nextone Special and the Nextone amplifiers, it's really very deep for somebody to get into, but easy at the same time.
Mhm.
You can really get in and tweak all the EQ in the pre-section before the first tubes, which is going to change your feel and dynamics and your harmonics and I've been able to shape it to so many different amplifiers just with that EQ alone. And then there's a post EQ, and then there's EQ and control and dynamics controls in the power amp. It's very tweakable. And as you said, the world famous thing with Dumble was he would sit there with you in his garage and watch you play and change little move a few values around until it matched you nicely. Here, you can do it daily with each guitar and do it yourself, and it's very, very easy and extremely fun. Like ignore trying to succeed with anything. I have a lot of fun just playing with it sometimes because it is fun.
Yeah.
On the
Also, Dan will never listen your request.
Yes, right. So on the front panel, there are two rows. Some things that are unique about the amplifier is that it now has saving ability, now has more effects on it, and there's 2 channels per preset, a clean channel and distorted channel. And as you look at those, a couple fun features are, of course, there's a new solo function on each, which is great. But to the left of those, there are 2 new knobs on both the clean channel and the distortion channel that are called top and bottom. Can you tell people what the top knob is?
Yeah, that's two top and bottom is kind of like a famous to traditional tube amplifier. They are using same top and bottom. That is totally different from tone stack. For example, top is changing high frequency sound, but not tone stack because that position is after preamp. That means before a push-pull power amp section. So no, that doesn't change overdrive distortion sound character, but you can change a little bit high frequency. So without changing overdrive distortion sound, you can make a little bit soft sound by using top.
Right. Yeah. So the top knob, in an amplifier, you have your preamp section, and depending on the design, usually you'll have some gain in the and the tone stack will come before some distortion.
Mhm.
So actually changing your knobs change the distortion. Then it goes through and you got a phase inverter. And this is kind of unique. It's almost like it lives somewhere between the phase inverter and the power amp section. So it's after the preamp section. So turning it doesn't change the character of that, but it does change the character of the power amp. It's almost like a little bit of a tone stack for the power amp. And but unlike just straight EQ, it is changing the characteristic and feel and stuff like that. So the treble is a lot of fun, and it's a very circuit feeling kind of thing.
Mm.
It may look like a simple EQ, but as you turn that thing up, it's really cool. Can you tell people what the bottom does?
Yeah, bottom, you can keep some low end, soft low end, and also strong low end.
Hmm.
Then bottom can change some tightness. You can get much more tighter sound.
Hmm.
And also that is not just only control the low frequency sound. Uh, that's changed something, uh, sound between, per amp, like musical harmonics and also richness and dynamics feel. So that is not
Hmm.
just changing frequency, such kind of play feel you can change.
Yeah. So what's really fun about it is, they're both cut knobs. So when they're at 0,
Mhm.
you've got your widest
Yeah.
bass and treble experience. And
Yes.
as you turn them up, they start to roll that in a little bit. But
Yes.
it's in the power amp, changing the harmonics and the dynamics. So the treble, the top knob, it's almost like the cut knob on like an AC30,
Mhm.
which you may have seen before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the bottom knob is almost like the depth knob that you might see on some amps, or like that button that you push that gives you depth, right? That would be a little bit like that. They're really powerful tone sculpting
Mhm.
devices. And when you change those power amps, like if I try and do like an AC30 type sound, I find AC30 had the impedance on the speaker response is really wide. So you basically put those at 0 and you get the most experience like that.
Yeah.
But like a Fender is a lot tighter, so maybe it's 12 o'clock or a little bit higher than
Mhm.
that for both those. So, but it's a real nice tonal characteristic, harmonic characteristic, and feel characteristic. It's really 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 cool.
Yeah. So start with
So
0 is very important thing. You know,
yes,
easy to understand.
yeah, people might think that as you turn it up, you should get more treble or more bass, but it's actually backwards because it's a cut
Mhm.
knob. How much more would you like to cut of
Yes.
that? And very unique, very fun, and just a really strong sculpting ability, and really fun that it's on both channels, so you can set it. One of the great features about Nextone Special is you can select for the clean channel. You can select a power amp type and set its top and bottom knobs, and you can do a different setting for the lead section, and then those can be saved as part of one of the presets as well. So you've got so much flexibility and capability going on there, which is really a lot of fun. One of the things that has been a comment, and if there's any other comments anybody has, real quick, we'll see if we can answer any questions. One of the questions that a lot of people ask, um, and there's so many positive reviews and stuff like that on the Nextone Special, but a lot of people are asking, what is the big difference between Nextone Special and say a Katana or a Katana Artist model?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. As I told, Katana is designed for grab and go amplifier. So Katana has a lot of effects inside. So you can create a totally different sound by using effects, you know, and instantly you can get perfect sound. But you know that is kind of like an effect sound, not 100% tube amplifier feeling, right? But Nextone is trying to realize real tube amplifier play feel. So that is totally different concept, you know.
Hmm.
So it's no sense to talk about which is better. It depends on your use, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And you know, when looking at the Katana amplifiers, they are very much a all-in-one solution, which is just amazing that it can do everything all in that device in that box. If you're a pedal user, I definitely think that the Nextones are more applicable for them because it both amps take it very well, but it's kind of expecting that you might have it externally and be using it. It's a really professional feeling amplifier. To me, I look at Nextone Special, and to me, I would call it affordable boutique, meaning, to me, I could go out and spend $2,000-3,000 to get something that has this visceral experience, this tactile, dynamic experience, and I would have to spend a lot of money. And with Nextone Special, I don't have to. I have, if it did just one or two of its core sounds, it's worth the experience and the money. But the fact that it's fully flexible and editable in so many what I call, modern sensibilities. It's like it has the feel of an old classic amplifier with old classic transformers and tubes, but it has all the modern necessities of a modern player at the same time. The savability, the foot switch control, XLR out with cab IR tonality on it. It's just a great amplifier. MIDI, so it can interact with your pedal board and switch between these presets. And then you can plug it in your computer, record direct if you wanted to. But more importantly, we keep talking about this editor. So the Nextone line is the culmination of experiences that a true professional will want. And it does it in a very modern way, a very visceral, dynamic way, and very affordable compared to any of its boutique counterparts who wouldn't have any of those capabilities. So it's just a super, super, super product at home for every, you can listen to this thing online. We put out some demos. Other people are putting out some demos, and more will come out. But the true experience of this amplifier is experiencing it. Get your hands on it, right?
Yes.
Put a nice guitar into it and play it. Maybe Yoshi will let you borrow his 1959 Les Paul.
Yeah,
Probably
yeah.
not. Right?
Not only guitar. I'm changing strings to nickel. Such kind of delicate difference I can hear from Nextone amplifier, and maybe I didn't use any effect. I connect my guitar direct to Nextone. 1 hour, 2 hour, easy to spend with Nextone.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And I'm finding that it responds really, really well to guitar dynamics. And, if you've got a nice, guitar, it responds not only to your hand dynamics, but it's also responding really well to my volume dynamics, to my pedals that I put in front of it. Just a really fun amplifier. To me, the best amplifiers are those ones where an hour has gone by and I haven't played much more than a D chord because I'm just enjoying the harmonics of it and not even realizing that time has passed. And I can tell you, having one for several months during the development and stuff like that, I have wasted a lot of time doing nothing but playing a simple chord and just enjoying the experience of it. So I hope everybody at home gets a chance to try it out. Well, that's it for our conversation on Nextone Special. And I really appreciate going through that with everybody, Yoshi-san. The Talks with Boss is something we do every week. Do you want to tell everybody what we're going to talk about next week?
Yeah, next week, how about talk TU3 tuner and also TU3S, including TU3W. What's that?
Yeah, the TU line, for 30 some years has been just one of those things that we pretty much can't look at a pedal board without seeing a Boss TU pedal on it. It's pretty rare. They're everywhere, and they're just an awesome, solid design with that rugged Boss